Welcome, adventure. I'm GM Coblin, and today I'm going to delve into something that is near and dear to my heart, and probably more and more in everyone else's life when it comes to TTRPGs, and that's the virtual tabletop and where it stands in 2024. Stick around to see some of the best options that you can find, as well as my personal favorite. So, if you're like me, then you've been playing on virtual tabletops for a long time. I think I've been doing it for 8 years now. Most of it has been with the same group. And the reason we had to start it was because we started playing D&D 5th edition, Wrath of the Dragon Queen, I can't remember, back a long time ago. And we did it during a camping trip. That campaign migrated online. And then we started into Pathfinder, but all of our games are run virtually because no two of us are closer than about 1,000 miles apart, other than my wife, who, of course, lives in the same house, usually. So we find it much easier, especially with that group, to run a virtual tabletop. And I had gotten so used to it and the ease of creating maps and revealing them to my players that I started, for a while now, use a virtual tabletop for my own in-home games so that I can just run the map, and then we use all of our figures and dice and either a digital character sheet or the old pen and paper if you want to. Just depends on whatever they want. But a lot of people have had to move to it because of finding people around you that want to play, either because lockdown started years back, and so we had that issue. But even after it was lifted, a lot of people were still having trouble finding and keeping up with new groups. So there's been a lot of forums, a lot of businesses start, all to connect people in order to progress them and allow them to play in their hobby. So today I'm going to go over a few of those. And we'll start off. This is RPG Engine. And I don't have a whole lot of experience with it, but from what I've read, and I do have it, and looked at, it has a little bit of a learning curve when you're looking at things. To get it set up, to get it started, you're not looking at any official material. It's really cool if you want the 3D map and everything, and especially if all your players are running on systems or tablets that are able to deal with it. It is a paid service, at least for the GM, and has required DLC for some reason. TaleSpire is one that I purchased a few years back to get my players into that 3D feel so they could kind of put themselves into the middle of the fight. And when it comes to creating interesting battlefields, and it's really cool with buildings. Unfortunately, my players like the top-down version where they're able to just kind of, it has that feeling of looking down at a map. It's a little more traditional. And so we don't use this. Most of the time, TaleSpire is used by my son just to create maps and stuff like that. And you can make 2D maps actually with this as well. It's pretty cool. And there's a lot of content that has been put out for free. You can download things that people have built for multiple D&D modules or other things. The problem with this originally was the integration of character sheets, which was fairly limited. So eventually you have players that have come up with modules or attachments that you can use. Beyond Spire is probably one of the best ones, especially if you're doing 5e and you use D&D Beyond. Beyond Spire is going to allow you to connect your roles from your Beyond character sheet into your TaleSpire game. Owlbell Rodeo is another one. It works really good when it comes to 5e. The systems, it's pretty simple. It looks really pretty. It's not too crunchy from what I've seen from resources. It also is mobile friendly, which a lot of your VTTs really aren't. It's pretty good. It still uses a fog system, and it doesn't have as many integrations for all of the systems that we really like. You do have a lot of extensions when it comes to them. Pricing is pretty good when it comes to it. It's not too expensive. It does have your free on here, so it's pretty good. If you want to do something even a little more traditional, there's a few things out there that are specifically made for this, where you're still, at least for this one, going to be paying for a monthly service because you're running off servers. But it's going to allow your players to control their little dots and move their characters, and you've got scales on there. This is another one that's pretty simple, so it's not too hard for a phone. So if you're running a table like I do, it's not a bad idea to be able to run it off something like that. You can still roll your dice and everything, and it just allows you to do those simple things of creating and drawing like you would. Although if you have access to a whiteboard, either app or service that you already use, you could just use it. Like if you use it for work or drawing out diagrams or anything, then that's a good thing for you to use. I believe you can even use Canva. I think Canva has a whiteboard on it. I don't remember if it's pro or not. But something like that. Real simple, real easy. Above VTT used to be one of the things that would allow you were using D&D Beyond, you bought all the books and everything and you added the extra material. Well, you didn't want to just jump into something else. Well, this allowed you to integrate, by the use of this extension, into your D&D Beyond game, or what you had set up. So before D&D Beyond was an actual tabletop, a VTT, you had this access. It was free. I don't remember if there were any hangups with this, but it allowed you to take the campaign page and changing the background, and you could add fog and drop down your different characters and everything, and you could roll for initiative, and it's just a nice way to be able to use that. Well, now you have maps. Maps being an actual D&D Beyond edition that they did, and maps is going to seem real familiar if anyone has used something like Roll20. And it does have a start and stop session and a pinging system, and it allows you to move your characters around on a map while still being all inside that D&D Beyond. Now, Fantasy Grounds is something that's been around and people are probably fairly familiar with. They have a free demo if you want to check it out. When it comes to the way it functions, I mean, it looks pretty good and it sets everything up, and the combat tracker's all there. It uses a tile system when it comes to creating some maps. It's not too difficult. I've seen better generators when you do things. Loading images is fine. I have some map making programs, so I don't worry about it too much, though some of my VTTs I have had to make maps on the fly inside of them. I know a lot of people use Fantasy Ground. I'm just not as big of a fan. So now we come to what is probably, in my view, was a little more OG and kind of the king when it comes to tabletop for VTTs. This is what we got started with, and we loved it. It worked for us for many, many years. We used it for a few end games when it came to just character creation. In fact, I have a 5e game, which because of purchase content, we have kept all their character sheets inside Roll20 and use their character sheets that way. It has a free version, which is why this is one of the ones that I really recommend for people whenever it comes to playing. In fact, we played for years on the free version. No problem. Didn't have an issue. And then, purchasing content or whatever we needed to do when it came to adventures. When it comes to a subscription, as you can see, paying for it, it's not expensive monthly. Yearly, you get a 2-month cut on it. But you gain access to a lot more upload space, which I definitely peaked, and I always had to rotate through. So I couldn't keep like an entire adventure, all my characters running through all their levels on the system without having to constantly delete tokens and maps and things like that. But it's an affordable way for you to get in, and really, this is mostly for the GM when it comes to creating maps and everything else like that. I've never noticed an issue with your other players having to do anything. Now, the one thing that you will notice is when it comes to dynamic lighting, which is, it wasn't a big thing back when we played, but it became a big thing for us as we progressed, being able to view. So if you want to have actual character sight and dynamic lighting, then I would definitely go with this. This is Roll20. This is actually from one of my Avernus maps. This is my wife's paladin that she played during that campaign. And as you can see, lighting is off because we don't have a subscription right now. But it allowed you to make your rolls for your character, and you can perform your attacks. You can do advantage, and it can do some of the math. It was always good because we did it a lot with Pathfinder 1E, and you could actually use like /R D6 or rolling additional dice. And so when you got to high levels, like they played all the way into their 20 or into level 20 easily with this system, and it allowed them to just put in the extra rolls or any of the extra things they needed into it and label it so that we could see it pop up in chat. The Foundry Virtual Tabletop. I love this thing. And it recently has partners up with Wizards of the Coast. So they're going to be getting all of the new rule books and content that comes in, as well as they're adding adventure paths and everything to update. So they're going to be getting in all the books. So if you do not already own them, you can purchase them and bring them in. Also, if you happen to have a character sheet or something that you had in Roll20, like I said, I had content in here. There are some things that you can find on the internet that will allow you to take a character from Roll20, and I think even from D&D Beyond, and they have a converter that will allow you to use it, and it will transfer it into something readable for Foundry. If you want to see what the system can do, you can click on their demo. Their demo is going to bring you into a Pathfinder 2nd Edition game, and you'll click 1 through like 8 or 10 for their characters, and you'll see different heroes, and you'll be able to look at them and see how they're set up and how everything functions with them. It will give you access to a character to be able to move. And as you've seen, the light is going to change depending on your character's vision. So Foundry, the reason that we really got into it is the ability to see what your character actually sees. Foundry gives me, the GM, the ability to block things from the point of view of my characters. If they are blind, which means they can't see anything else happen, there's all sorts of effect. Invisible effect, being able to show one of my characters an invisible creature while not allowing anyone else. This system has allowed me to create puzzles where everyone sees things completely different. And they all have to interact together to be able to pull off a scenario or fix something. So it has definitely been something that I have fallen in love with. And it has all of the Pathfinder 1 general content and rules and everything, which I enjoy. It also has all the Pathfinder 2. It has your SRD stuff. And like I said, you can get your 5e. If anyone's seen the DC 20 system that quite a few people are all happy about, that is going to be coming to Foundry from what I've heard. Foundry itself has 327 game systems, including at least 1 or 2 completely agnostic systems that allow you to just completely dive in and do a lot of it by hand, everything but the actual like programming to do the modules and everything. And running all the modules allows me to do anything I want. One of the best guys there is for modules, and one that I recommend for people, is Ripper. And if you like 3D images and you want to run something that does a lot of the numbers for you for 5e, this will do it. From having those 3D maps with your players to a lot of stuff that just makes life easier on us for GMs. A lot of his stuff is going to be cross-compatible, but there's 5e stuff that will do a lot of math, everything from hits and damage on monsters together. So I have found that it has been the best system for us. And I can set up the walls and make them disappear. I can set up things so that when characters enter into areas, they have stuff revealed to them. They see messages, they do rolls, they can take damage. All of this is something that, yes, has a learning curve. And that's one of the things, is Foundry has a little bit of a learning curve to it. But it's only as big of a learning curve as you want it to be. And this is my 5e game. We are running through a new module since we finished Avernus. But when I said making it as simple as you want, you can. So I put this on my screen. And you can set this up for your players if you're doing it virtually as well. Run it just like you did on Roll20. You can just throw a map. You don't have to have anything else there. And then you can just reveal their vision as you go. Roll their dice. Same settings that you're used to. It's just as easy, and then you have the ability to expand as you want. I have one game, mine with Pathfinder, that my characters have graphic effects tied to their spells and their buffs. So they have lightning or a field around them or something just to make them feel snazzy. And when they cast Fireball, wherever they hit it, not only does it get a field, as you can see here, we can make it, not only does it do that automatically, but it also has a big fireball with sound that goes off as it rolls it for the characters. So this one allows you to make it as complicated as you want or as simple as you want. And I use this for, like I said, my tabletop at my house now, because it allows me to add any effects or sound that I want directly into the game, not just hooking up my phone or YouTube. And I can set up, when I want to have walls, I can set up walls so my players that are online go in and they can't see behind the walls. Their vision is actually blocked. It changes everything. The lighting changes. I think that Foundry is best system for now, where if I want to put in effort, I can wow my players like they've never seen. So it's got my pick. So give it a try. Look around. There is tons of content for it. The one thing is, like I said, it is $50 once. As a GM, you'll buy this once. And it runs off of, you can run it off of free servers if you want. There are paid servers out there. You can run it off your computer or a server that you set up. But you pay for this once, and that's it. Now, you can buy extra content like the 5e books that have come out and are coming out. Or you can just run this from now forever, and it's once. And your players don't have to do anything. You give them a link, and they go through their browser, and that's how they connect. It's simple. It's easy. It's what we really enjoy. If you like this video, check out my others. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. If you have any tips or requests, drop them in the comments below. And until next time, may your crits be epic, your adventures legendary, and your gaming table filled with laughter.